Hey guys, welcome to LoveCast the podcast reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing the Thai series Until We Meet Again. I'm your host Alexa, and with me are my co-hosts Pixie and Kayla.
Hey.
Yo.
So, before we jump into it, I just wanted to make a little note that today's series review was voted on by our Patreons. So, if you guys are interested in being able to vote on what shows we might review in the future, you should consider joining our Patreon membership. Memberships start at $2, I believe. So yeah, if you want to vote on what we do in the future, that's the place to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And to go into the review, we're going to start with a brief synopsis of Until We Meet Again. So Until We Meet Again is the story of Dean and Pharm. They are two university students who come into each other's lives, and as they come into each other's lives, they realize that they are also connected by their past lives. Their two past selves, Corn and Natouch, were also romantically involved in their university days. And while Corn and Natouch's story ended tragically, Dean and Pharm want to be sure to make sure their story has a happy ending. And the series is all about them navigating being connected in their past and how that impacts their current relationship and all those types of things. So the series is available for free on YouTube on the Wabi Sabi YouTube channel. And it is also available on Line TV for free with subtitles. So you can watch it either of those two places.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are our general spoiler free thoughts on Until We Meet Again? I think we're all pretty big fans of the show.
Yeah. I don't even know where to begin. Like, the show is so beautiful and also so tragic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's very metaphysical and like has a lot of spiritual themes. And so I'm really into that whole past lives thing and tying the red string around each other's pinky so that like you're connected. I really like the folklore, I guess, and the culture
Mm-hmm.
behind that origin story. So I think that's what reeled me into it in the first place, is just this idea of soulmates that I really like about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, it's been a really long time since I watched it. So so I'm going off this of what I remember and how I felt when I watched it, because I remember very clearly what I felt.
Mm.
And I remember that when I watched the first episode, I had to stop. And
Yeah.
and I put it to the side, and I couldn't, like, it came so suddenly that I couldn't like process it. So I had to stop, put it at the side, and then I went back to it a week later and watched it
I
through
did the
the whole
same
thing.
thing.
Mhm.
The same exact thing.
Yeah, and I'm really glad I did, because, like, okay, it is really shocking,
Mm.
and really it comes very in your face. You don't
Yeah.
expect it, especially not from a BL.
Mm.
But it's so worth it to just watch the whole thing, because the story is so cohesive and just good. And it was the first BL that actually made me cry as well.
Mm.
So, I mean, I very vividly remember the grandma.
Yeah.
Without going into spoilers right now, I very vividly remember her, and I was bawling. I was crying my eyes out. She was so good. So yeah.
Yeah, I think they just did a spectacular job with all of the different elements of it. I mean, I went into the show, I wouldn't say with no expectations, but I'd watched Love by Chance and I really liked New as a director, so like I was hoping I would be a fan of it, but I wasn't particularly in it for the plot itself. I was more watching it because I'd liked New's past show and I wanted to support him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had the same thing in the first episode. Like, I don't think anyone would have ever expected that in the first 10 minutes of the series. And I'm sure most people know what we're talking about, even if you haven't seen it, because it's a pretty
Mm.
famous scene. But just for spoiler's sake, I'm not going to go into specifics. But
Mm.
I still watched it all in one sitting, but I definitely like took like a solid like 20-minute break before I started part two and just like sat there and processed what I just watched, and I was like, so this is gonna be like one of those shows.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much a fan of like, I don't know if like emotional shows is the right word. I really like watching like melodramas and stuff like that and K-dramas. Sounds kind of like morbid, but I like to cry when I'm like watching
Mm.
dramas and stuff like that. I kind of talked about in the Perth episode, but I cry really easily. So I guess it's just kind of like cathartic for me to watch shows like that. So
Mm.
like I definitely cried a lot and I loved it in a weird way. Like I just love shows that make me feel very strong emotions. And this is a show that made me feel like every emotion I felt about everything that happened, whether it was something happy or sad, it was very strong, and I felt very connected to the characters that they created, and
Yeah.
Dean and Parm specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love the dynamic between the couple, Dean and Parm, and
Mm,
also
Mm.
Corn and In Touch. I just think they have a really interesting, because it's like they already know each other in a way. And
right,
so
Mm.
their relationship is starts off a lot more developed than it would maybe like another couple in a different show,
right.
Mm.
Where
because
you
they
have
have a
that
history.
emotional connection that they don't need to grow that connection. It's like there.
Mm.
Yeah, I really liked that about them too. And just I love Dean. He's probably
I
one of
love
my
him
favorite
too.
like characters ever. Like I've said before that I could probably write a dissertation about how he's the best boyfriend
He
in
really
any
is.
show ever. But yeah, everyone in the cast is so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Like I was blown away by everyone.
Yeah. I'm biased towards Bowen. Like, I just love that man, and he has tattoos in the show and just ear piercings and blonde hair and ponytails and or a man bun, and it's perfect. It
Everything
hit
that
all
gets you.
my right spots. So I I really like how the characters interact with each other.
Mm,
I like the like that they are sort of, well, they aren't always polite to each other, if
Hmm.
you know what I mean. Like they have like this whole friendship, sarcastic,
yeah.
teasing thing going on, and it's funny. And I think like Baun and Prem, Team and Win, their relationship is, while Team is teasing Win a lot, or the other way around. Sorry, it doesn't feel like it's mean spirited, you know?
Yeah, I know what
Hmm.
you mean.
Mm.
It's like some shows will have like the relationship starts in that kind of like almost like one of them is a bully of the other and then like they fall in love, but like
Mm.
Team or Win was always teasing Team from like a good place. Like he was never trying to be cruel to him and you could tell that he was like lighthearted in it, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It
Yeah.
never felt like bullying, right? It
Yeah.
it was just teasing.
Yeah, they had a fun dynamic and
They
I'll
did.
be excited to see more of it in their
I'm
series.
so excited for Between Us.
All right, well, before we jump into more detailed review, I think we all know what all of our ratings on this are going to be, but let's just say for the sake of the review, mine
Yeah.
is obviously a 5, must watch. It's one of my all-time favorite BL series. I will recommend it to anyone if someone's looking for like the first BL. I mean, it's a little bit heavy for like a first BL, but I
Mm.
think it's so beautifully done that I still recommend it to people. Like I
Same.
would literally recommend the show to anyone and everyone.
Yeah, same. It's 5. I've recommended it to everyone I know. Not everyone has watched it because they don't like watching stuff that's not English or
Mm,
Norwegian, but it's like the first show that pops into my head if someone asks me for like a recommendation or anything. I truly love it. Mm.
Yeah, can I give it like a 20? Because I'm very biased, but I love this show a lot. And I
Mhm.
think that it was done very well. The directing, the writing, just the way it was adapted into live action series. It's
Yeah.
very touching and I like it a lot. So a 5 or a 20.
So that's going to be our spoiler-free portion of the review. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to drop a comment below letting us know what you think of the series, what you would rate it on your own scale. And if you're interested in seeing the full review, like I said earlier, you can find it over on our Patreon at the Lovecaster tier and above. So jumping into spoilers, the first thing I want to say is like Fluke deserved all the awards for this show. Like just
Mhm.
the amount of scenes that I can think of that he just like brought 1000%. Like
Mhm.
thinking about like when Kayla mentioned how, you know, when they first met you could tell they knew each other before. That scene when they first like encounter each other in the grocery store and Parm turns around and it's just like immediately in tears, like because of this fierce connection that he can feel between them.
Mhm.
I rewatched that scene so many times. It's like one of my all-time favorite like television scenes ever. Like I just thought it was so beautifully done, and of course Ohm did amazing as well. Like I think he
Mhm.
really did a great they both really did like amazing jobs of conveying this like almost like impossible to convey feeling of meeting someone and being in someone's presence and feeling that you've known them before and loved them before. And I think that they
Mhm.
both like that scene is just like imprinted in my mind because I think they both just like did such an amazing job with it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. Fluke did the damn thing.
Yeah.
Like another scene that's kind of like that I really love is whenever they're in his apartment eating and
Yeah.
he sees that Dean like has a birthmark on his temple and then he's like, "Oh, I have that too. My brother said it might be because I shot myself in the
Yeah.
past
And then
life."
the
And then he's like,
flashback.
"Whoa."
Oh my God.
He's like,
Yeah.
"Wait a minute." He like drops the food or whatever.
Yeah. I think it was really interesting how they did the flashbacks and everything. I think it like lended more to making it more dramatic,
Mm,
obviously, but like you could do something like that different ways, but I think the way they did it fit very good with the story. So
yeah.
while like the opening scenes when they showed the suicide in the first episode, it's really like I don't get shocked by a lot. I'm not usually very sensitive when I watch things, and
Mm,
I don't mind stuff, but just I I just didn't expect it, and it
yeah.
just took me completely off guard, and I was just like I was shocked at myself that I got so shocked by it. So that was insane. But I think they have like a great way of balancing the fluff with the drama,
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yes.
which was very refreshing. And like they have fluff, they have drama, and they have like the whole team win dynamic. That's something else. So they have like everything.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah, I think they did good in making Corn and End such a large part of the story because
Mhm.
they could have easily just like had them there for the suicide scene and
Mm,
you know or the funeral scene just to kind of like establish how Dean and Palmer connected. But I think in showing us how Corn and End fell in love and kind of showing us how their story progressed and ended as well, it made things feel a lot more meaningful and it put a lot more
mm,
strength behind Dean and Parm's relationship in the present time.
mm.
And it was also just nice to see like I think that Kuhart did a really great job and Cal as well, even though his character was pretty understated.
Mm,
But like I just think that they did good in giving them I mean obviously their role wasn't huge. Like I remember seeing a lot of people always wishing for more of them.
mm,
But, you know, I think they easily could have gotten away with including less of them as well. So I like that
yeah,
they put them in the story as much as they did.
yeah. I feel like Kao in the series kind of was held back by his character because I
Mm.
feel like he has such potential, and you see that with Lovely Rider now, right? He could have been able to do so much more with the character, but I feel like he was kind of pulled back, and I don't know if that's the director telling him to like push it down or the direction wasn't good enough, but I sort of feel like there was a missed opportunity for him. I think the character could be so much more if he would have like, I don't know, like I'm not a director, so obviously, but there was something missing there. But I love their dynamic and their characters and everything. It's at this point it's just nitpicking, but I just remember that I thought that it could have been more.
Yeah, I do think they definitely had him, and like you said, I don't know if it was like a directing standpoint or just Cal's own choice as the character. I think they definitely had him lean heavy into the kind of stoic, big tough stoic guy type thing that
Mm,
doesn't really show a lot of emotion. And I do agree that there are points where I guess I would have wished to see like a little bit more,
mm,
like in certain scenes, like I don't know, I think it was like the scene on their 1 year anniversary
mm,
where they had like slept together and then Corn had to leave and stuff like that. And I
mm,
do think there was like a lot of understated emotion there, but that is like one of the scenes where I think maybe I would have liked to have seen more from him. But
mm,
like I said, I don't know if it was like you said, like a direction standpoint
mm.
or just his own standpoint, like the way the character was written. Obviously, like we were seeing a very different side of him with Nubsip, so part of it
Yeah.
makes me think that it was a writing and directing thing, but I don't
Hmm.
know.
Yeah. Yeah, he might have just evolved as an actor, but
Yeah, I read the novel.
okay.
And I think his character was adapted pretty
Pretty spot
well.
on.
Mm,
You get the vibe that he's like a very depressed person.
Mm,
okay.
yeah.
And so but he also like has to suppress how he feels a lot of the time because of his family and his
Mm-hmm.
name and like the responsibility that he has to follow in their footsteps even though he doesn't want to and wants freedom and
Mm,
stuff. So it's
Mm,
like he's always like on the edge. Like he's restrained and he wants to break free but he doesn't know how.
mm,
That's kind of the vibe I got from his character
yeah, I can read
after
that.
yeah.
reading it. I don't usually read the like novels or translations, but I just love this show so much that I was like, I'm going to. I have to.
Yeah.
I also think there were a lot of very small details between the past and the present that were, I don't know if the word is like very effective or just like heartbreaking, where like, for example, like In Touch can't cook but Parm
Mm,
is like a really good cook. It's like
yeah.
all of these things that were unfulfilled in the past are like finally fulfilled in the present.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so heartbreaking,
Yeah.
but good. It's so good storytelling wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's so funny how when Team and Win are on a like quote unquote date, and instead of finding a mistletoe because they couldn't find one,
Freaking broccoli or whatever.
Yes.
and that's now like the fandom name of them. Oh, no, that was hilarious.
Oh my god, yeah. I remember cracking up during that scene. It was like, are they using broccoli ahead of broccoli right now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was brilliant.
I really enjoyed Sammy in this role. I think
Hmm.
this is one of the roles where she's had more substance as a character. They still kind of put her in like the stereotypical like shipper Fujoshi role,
Hmm.
but I think they gave her a lot more substance in actually making her a genuine friend of Parm and team. And also like making her friends with Dell and stuff like that. I know a lot of people shipped Dell and Manao on the low.
Hmm.
Mm.
So I appreciate that she had a lot more substance in this role and also had her own like tiny little love line, even though it was very, very minuscule. It was nice
Yeah.
to see her get that because I know a lot of the times she is touted as like the kind of overweight, I'm putting this in quotes, you guys can't see it, but like overweight, unattractive type fangirl role, even though
Yeah.
she's none of those things. So
Mhm.
like it was really nice to see her get like a little love line and an actual like role with substance, even if it was still just a small role.
Yeah, I think like that's my favorite role that she has, like
Yeah.
because it's not like obnoxious
Yeah.
fujoshi role.
Like she was still a shipper, but like she was Parm and Team's friend first. And like
Hmm.
she was like shipping them and like they had scenes with her like, I want to send these to my group chat if that's okay type thing. But like
Yeah.
it wasn't like in Two Moons or some of her other roles where she was like following them around like screaming, that
Hmm.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, you get just like the vibe that she's again like their friend and is being super
Yeah.
sarcastic with them and joking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was like their friends before they found their partners. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I
yeah.
love that they just like met in line signing up for an event or whatever, and they were like, okay, we're best friends now. And then they were all three of them just best friends. Like, I thought they were just the cutest little trio.
Yeah, same. I really like the friendship they kind of put a storyline to the friendship because often they like just put the friends together and don't actually show them being friends. It's
Yeah.
just like
Hmm.
there for a plot device. But this actually has a storyline where you see those three together in
Yeah.
like by themselves.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they were a
yeah.
really good friendship trio.
Hmm.
Same with Win and Dean, even though I feel like we saw a little bit less of them, like their friendship scenes, but they still had like a good bond and they did show like some key moments of like when giving him advice and like helping him figure out what he was going to do in certain situations like that. So I think they did really well with the friendships all around in this.
And like I said, like earlier in the spoiler-free part, the woman who plays the grandma, she
Mm,
was phenomenal. Like
that
when,
scene was
oh, it was so
woo.
heartbreaking. Oh, I watched it more than once, one time, because it was just, I was so caught out at how someone can be so good at acting.
Mm,
And it's just, oh, and it hit me a little hard too, because like my grandma died just a couple of years ago, so
yeah,
so and she kind of reminded me of my grandma, so I was like
very
bawling so
emotional.
badly.
Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell that all the like adult actors in the show are
Yeah.
veterans. They're all so
Yeah.
good and experienced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even the dads, like, especially like in the later episodes when Parm kind of had his breakdown and like Corn's dad came back again and kind of, I guess, apologized and stuff like that for what had happened. Like that his dad did really well with those scenes. Corn's dad character, I don't know the
Mm-hmm.
actor's name, but that scene was really in their like old apartment that they had in the 70s where Parm kind of loses control and was like going back and forth between himself and In Touch. Like that scene
Mm.
was, whew, that scene was insane.
Yeah.
That was a very heavy scene, and that's like another one where Fluke just like knocked it out of the park. But I think like all the adults that were involved in that scene did really well too.
Mm-hmm.
Any final thoughts?
I just love this show. I just love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I second that.
Yeah. It's an amazing show. If anyone hasn't watched it yet, if you are avoiding it for whatever reason, maybe the first scene or other things that you've heard about, I would say, I mean, obviously skip things that might be triggering for you, like if you can't watch the suicide scene and stuff like that, but I definitely think that it's a drama that everyone should at least give a chance. Like it's incredible. It's one of the best shows I've seen to date.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, that'll be it for our review of Until We Meet Again. You guys can definitely expect to see us doing a review of Between Us whenever that might come out. I know probably going to be the end of the year or maybe even early 2022 at this point with COVID, but we will be back for that series as well. And if you guys have any thoughts or comments, leave them below and be sure to let us know what you'd like to see us review next. Until next week, bye.
Bye.
Bye.